Number one, Sharon Carter, WSDA emergency food discussion after the public comment, as well as a discussion on the truck potable water cistern during the commissioner's miscellaneous reports comments.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. So I guess we're going to move to public comment. So if you're in the room, please raise your hand and we'll call on you. And you can come to the front and let us know who you are. Or online, when we move to online, please unmute yourself or raise your hand so we know you'd like to speak. So we have somebody willing to come up front and sit in the chair, and yes. And make sure your microphone's on green.
Both are.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Robert Johnson, resident of Wishram, president of the city community council that we formed down there. Just wanted to introduce myself. Also would like to request if we can get a visit from either commissioner or anybody who you would like to come down and have a town hall with us to take some questions from. There's a lot of, say, general turmoil about some stuff. And I think people need to hear from somebody or a couple of people. We had the PUD come down and have a town hall with us. They brought one commissioner and a couple of staff from different departments, head of their departments. And it was a couple-hour meeting and it was very, very good. And it answered a lot of the questions. So again, we're at this point, and I'd like to have requests that we do the same with the county itself, maybe building, maybe roads. There's some questions about things like that. Wishram's kind of been forgotten as I can see.
We normally don't interact. We respond afterwards, but just so we can get it on the record, do you have a set time for, I think you've had one community council meeting. Do you have a set date and time per month?
We have the second Monday of each month.
Okay.
But because we're coming on an election and a holiday, we're moving things around for the next month. So we're thinking maybe in 2 weeks.
Okay.
A Tuesday on 2 weeks at 5 at the school would be a really good time.
Okay. And do you post those online so people can
Right
find you?
now we have Facebook right now.
Okay.
We don't have a live website .org. We're working on it right now. It'll be another month before it goes live because of the.
But I can check Facebook for your meeting times.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
And when did the community council be reconstituted?
It's about 5 months ago. 7 members. We've lost one member that moved away, and we'll replace that member at the next meeting. We have a volunteer. It's all volunteer. We're not trying to change things. We're just trying to start to get people back together to discuss issues that are going on there. There's tons of issues that need to be addressed as far as I can see. I moved here from Portland, from the Portland area, and I retired from Bonneville Power as the manager of the high voltage group. So I have a lot of questions too about with the PUD a lot and things like that, lighting and things like that. But there's potholes, roads, the normal stuff that people would like to start to discuss. So that's
Music today.
Yeah, I would say when you figure out what date you're gonna have your next meeting, since it sounds like it's not set yet.
it's always the
Well, you were saying you were gonna switch it because of the election or.
well, unfortunately we have a holiday falling on the second Monday of next month. So we'll move it to the Tuesday after that.
Okay.
Be the 15th, I believe. No, I don't have a calendar in front of me. You have to take a look at it. 12th?
Monday, you're saying November 11th is Monday, Veterans Day.
Yeah, so we'll move it to the 12th. Yeah.
And if you can leave a contact number or call back in and leave contact with the girls, then we can find you.
Gladly.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem going down there, so hopefully we can get something together.
Yeah, and we're trying to keep this kind of informal. I'm not trying to put somebody in the grinder right away. So it's just a meet and greet. A lot of questions are going to be asked about, like say potholes and things like that, the normal stuff. So I don't know if it'd be more effective maybe to have somebody from roads and somebody from building or somebody from the other departments that could field those questions and maybe not direct questions to a commissioner.
If you do have a list of the things that you'd like to discuss, it'd be great to send that to the girls to be and bring the right people.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And can I just gather up a bunch of photos of the items?
I mean, we know road's gonna be there. We know that's a major issue down there, but no sense having the building guy come down unless there's gonna be actual questions on building permit.
I think.
Or, you know what I mean? So if we can get a little more detail on what questions you're gonna ask, we can make sure we
Oh,
have the
absolutely.
appropriate
Yes.
people.
We would like to form a pre-list of.
Yeah,
of
that would be perfect.
items. Right, yeah.
I mean, Public Works a no-brainer. Everybody else, give us some kind of list so we can have the
Right, 'cause,
professional in
You
the
know,
room.
roads conditions are a bit in question. And a lot of it has to do with the feedback we're getting is a lot of dead vehicles in right of way, derelict motorhomes.
Code compliance stuff.
Compliance stuff is huge right now down there. And
Okay.
that's really where I
Like I
think.
said, just get that list
Okay.
together and then send it into them and then we can have a discussion and make sure we get
Absolutely.
the right
So,
people.
You guys would rather do it on the regular meeting or not?
I don't care. I just need a day.
Perfect. I'll set that up and contact.
Yeah, and some contacts and we'll reach.
Any questions for me before I
No,
yield the floor?
Thank you, Robert.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, sir.
thanks for coming in. So we'll move to online.
Got Vern.
Good morning, Vern.
Good morning, commissioners. How are you?
Good.
I'm just here to support Robert. The Wishram Community Council was resurrected and set up using a commerce grant through SEEK. And it's now the fifth community council that SEEK is supporting. And it's been a spectacular success. And I'm using this forum to just talk to the 4 candidates for commissioner. There was a big issue that was discussed and not very well answered about how you communicate with the people and that sort of thing. The community councils of the unincorporated areas are the way you speak to the people and wait. You don't have to wait for a problem. When you talk about going to town halls and that sort of thing, you have to have some sort of organization and structure to where you're going. And that's one of the goals of SEEK, is to kind of do what the county used to do with supporting the small communities with community councils. So we're setting that up again, one community at a time. And what's just happened here, you now are able to talk directly to the people with organized structure of what's going on in that community. And I would sure encourage you, all you candidates, to start getting with it and supporting community councils again. I really don't need any answers back. It was just my pulpit. Have a good election. Thanks.
Thank you, Vern. Hey, back in the room. Anyone else this morning? Seeing no hands online. Raise your hand or unmute.
Kaylee.
Kaylee, good morning.
Good morning. So I'm actually surprised that people aren't running to make this comment. Maybe I won't be the last one. The prescribed burns that are being done in our county, I do recognize that it's the Forest Service doing this, and I'm not quite sure how emergency management has a part in it to allow this. But I would just go to say that if the county is on a burn ban, there's a reason, because fire danger is extremely high and leads to unintended spread. So that's what happened yesterday at Catherine Creek. And it's also confusing for the public, as in you guys have no idea how many hours I explained to my kids, no, we can't have a campfire because it's a burn ban. And they're like, but people are burning over there. Granted, they're kids, but same with adults. It makes it very confusing when the Forest Service is doing these burns during our burn ban, especially when we haven't had much rain and it's been getting up close to 80 and every day it's windy in the afternoon. It's just putting our residential area at risk. And I just feel that, I don't know, I would like to know how emergency management is a part of it and if there is anything we can do to maybe have them do these lovely burns when it's not so dangerous. So I think that is my only comment for today.
Thank you, Kaylee.
Thank you.
Back in the room. I see no hands. Online? Do we have any other participants this morning online?
Yeah, Gabrielle Gilbert.
Good morning, Gabby.
Hi. So tomorrow, Wednesday, October 16th, from 4:30 to 5:30, the Washington State Commerce Department is coming to the Park Center meeting room on 170 Northwest Washington Street. They're going to have representation from the Commerce Department as well as the liaison person, I believe, for our county. And I know that the commissioners have been extended the invitation, as well as the mayors, the superintendent, and various people to attend that meeting. And I hope to see you guys there. I think it's important to get more grant dollar availability to our communities and this county, and rural counties as a whole are kind of forgotten from Olympia, and that the concerns of rural counties are going to be forefront. Housing, childcare, as are parts of the discussions too. So I hope to see you there. And it's just really important for the county and the municipalities, the cities of the county, to start investing into youth and children and the things that they require. We're trying to get a basketball court in the city of White Salmon in that park. The school district is actually attempting a grant, but it, would like to see, when you build infrastructure for young people in this community, that you do it in a way that it lasts for generations, and it's done in a way that you become the envy of other communities, that they would say, we want something like that in our community. And I just don't want to see any kind of shortcut done for I don't want a cheap version of anything. I think that the youth and children in this county deserve top notch, and that's what I'd like to see. And I'd like to see elected officials doing more on the grant levels available through the state of Washington in these different divisions that would assist and address young people and their needs, and to get more of an infrastructure for the youth and children in this community and the county. So look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and it should be really exciting. And hopefully this is one of many conversations and visits from the Commerce Department coming down to Klickitat County. All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Back in the room. Oh, we normally don't open it back up. It's like,
Rules are rules,
rules are rules.
and we can follow them, we can not follow them.
You
Your
can
choice is yours.
always email into us, but if we extend it, then we extend down the line and we're out of control. So, but thank you so much.
Essentially, what it comes down to is legality. If we allow you a second time to speak, but we don't let somebody else a second time to speak, they can sue us for restricting their First Amendment right to free speech. So we have to stay even for everybody. That's the purpose.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right.
Rules I've seen.
Zero. Yeah.
That's why I said, so whatever our rules are, we need to make sure they're the same for everybody. Otherwise, somebody.
Yeah, we just have to be
calls the
consistent.
person. Just reach out to
so-
us, call us.
0796.
Yeah, good morning, County Commissioners. Lisa Adams here. So I just have a quick question. It's my understanding that Under Canvas is going to be proceeding on this side of the county. I'm just curious, are they going to be taxed the same way as short-term rentals? Will that fall under the lodging tax council? I know that those tax dollars are guided by RCW 67.28.1815 on how they are to be spent. But my concern is, you know, I live in the Northwestern Park area. We have seen a ton of traffic just growing every year in our area, more rafting companies coming in, more bikers, those types of things. So with Under Canvas, we're going to see a lot more out-of-towners in the area. You know, and to Kaylee's point, that increases fire hazard, you know, people speeding up and down the roads, creating a lot of dangerous situations in the area. So I guess what I'm wondering is, you know, one, how is Under Canvas going to be taxed? And then number two, can we use those tax dollars to try to mitigate the inevitable challenges that come with that type of facility? Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. Back in the room. Nobody ready yet? Online. Good morning, Roger Nichols.
Good morning. I've got a couple of questions, actually following up on some of the things people have said this morning. One is when you get to Jeff King this afternoon, I'd like to find out exactly how that works, the interaction between the Forest Service and emergency services. I think that's a really interesting topic. And also, I'm concerned, Under Canvas, are they paying system development charges, and how much are they? That would be interesting to know. Thanks.
Thank you, Roger. Back in the
Can I
room.
ask a clarification question?
Yes.
Roger, what do you mean by system development charges?
One second, sorry. Usually when there is a development put in someplace, the developer pays for any extra, what's the word I'm looking for, infrastructure. And if they're putting in a subdivision, they have to pay for extending the sewer line out to it, et cetera, that sort of thing. I'm assuming they're doing it in the county, that there's some sort of infrastructure that will have to be developed to handle all the traffic and whatnot. And normally there are system development charges, at least in Oregon. I'm not so familiar with Washington. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, back in the room. Mr. Smith isn't ready yet. Back online. 7211.
Good morning, Greg Wagner with Cease. I'd like to be afforded extra time to speak like Mr. Johnson from Wishram was granted. I have a comment to make. The May 7th Cypress Creek Renewable Carrier franchise agreement hearing was conducted illegally. The commissioners failed in their duty to inform the auditor that she was responsible for the posting of the legal notices per Washington State laws RCW 3655040 and RCW 80.32.010. This failure to post the legal notices as required by law excluded many citizens from testifying and violating their due process and rights to participate in their government decision-making process. Therefore, the May hearing must be declared null and void. No decision can be made by this board because the franchise agreement hearing was done illegally. Then a new franchise agreement hearing must be conducted after the auditor has posted all the legal notices required by law. Then and only then can a decision be rendered. I ask that the board take the appropriate action to correct their mistakes. Commissioner Anderson, you have supported the Carrier Solar Project in our county for your whole term in office. You have consistently opposed any action taken by the citizens or your seatmates to prevent solar development by voting against 2 solar moratoriums and 1 solar prohibition. You You have met privately with Cypress Creek representatives to discuss their needs in our county. You will say and do anything to support Cypress Creek Renewables Carriger Solar Project. You lack empathy and compassion for the people you are paid to serve. You have an unquestionable bias which favors Cypress Creek Renewable and their Carriger project. Your bias makes you unable to render a fair and impartial decision on the Cypress Creek Renewable Carriger project as required by your oath of office. You are in violation of the state law RCW 4236, the appearance of fairness, because of your bias. Commissioner Anderson, you must recuse yourself from any future involvement or vote on the Cypress Creek Renewable Carriger project. You must hold a new hearing and start the process all over again for this franchise agreement that Cypress Creek is wanting for their Carriger project. I hope you take the appropriate action. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Perfect timing. Okay. In the room? No. Back online. Aya Walker, good morning.
Good morning. My name's Aya.
Aya, I'm sorry.
I'm calling from Utah again today. We just passed the anniversary of Hannah Rose Walker's suspicious death that occurred in your county in October of 2022. Last week, I asked the commissioners if they were aware that the sheriff had closed the case while ignoring the Attorney General's recommendations. I didn't really get an answer. Basically, I think I heard you acknowledge that you were not aware of some of the things that I brought to your attention, but that your hands were basically tied, that you do not manage the sheriff's elected office. So this morning, I would like to draw your attention to your Washington state laws. Give you guys some time to go and read them, and reach out to me if you need additional documentation to understand the issues at hand in regard to the suspicious death, the neglected, I don't even think I can call it an investigation. Of particular note this morning, are you aware that the Department of Natural Resources manages the natural area preserve there at Trout Lake? And if you are aware of that, then you'd probably be interested to know that they do have trail cams all along that area. They also have a law enforcement officer assigned to that particular area. We have documented that no one in Klickitat County contacted the Department of Natural Resources to request footage from the trail cam videos, to request information about environmental factors from their monitoring stations that are present in that area. There was no request to speak with the law enforcement officer, and there was no response to the family as we brought this to everyone's attention. This is getting old. It's getting, I'm getting irritated. It's my understanding, after a lot of research, that you commissioners are in more of a position of power than you're alluding to, that you have the ability to reach out to the governor's office and ask for them to assign the case to the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General is wanting that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Adrian Bradford.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Thank you. Just following up on Kaylee's call about so-called controlled burns. Last night, I got a call from Val Fowler, who is our new Columbia Gorge commissioner, and her big property is about as close to that fire as you could get. So I got these minute by minute photographs of that horrendous out of control fire. And it certainly brings up the issue, why burning at this time of the year? But there's obviously a lot more to it than that. But I don't know why you can't burn in the winter. It's just a lot harder to do it, I suppose. But it brings up another question, that the big planes, we have been making a major issue about the slowness of the big planes getting into these fires, getting early, because they're the ones in remote areas that can really do something about it. And firemen, no matter how many they are, and doing a tremendous job. When you're in a remote area, they can't fight them with fire trucks. But this time, and then Jamie Herrera has been just steaming about that issue. Who's in charge of those planes? And it's still an outstanding question. They're privately owned and they're mostly parked at the Dallasport Airport, but there's still open question, who directs them? Because they're privately owned. This time, maybe somebody's having an effect. They did seem to get there quick into the fire in the afternoon. And nevertheless, it got out of control anyway. And it sounds like the only reason that it sort of tempered down was it hit a valley and burned itself. It certainly not burn out, but it got somewhat in control, I guess. But this thing about the airplanes is still a major issue, and Jamie Herrera is making that one of her major issues. Who is in charge of those airplanes? DNR was the issue when it was the other two big fires. In this case, apparently it was National Forest Service that was in charge, and so somebody got them there a lot quicker. So maybe there's some progress, but thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. So back online, unmute yourself or raise your hand, please. Mm-hmm. 4901.
Hello.
Hello, 4901.
This is Todd Andrews.
Hi, Todd.
How's it going? I want to ask you guys if you guys can do a town hall meeting on the West Coast on Wednesday the 16th, Thursday the 17th, or Wednesday the 23rd, or Thursday the 24th in the evening. If any four of those dates, by the end of today, if you guys can agree to one of those, that would be wonderful. They were promised, and I think the citizens would like to hear more before more stuff like under canvas and solar gets pushed through without environmental or anything being brought forth to the public. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Back in the room. Online. Anyone else online this morning?
Hello?
Oh. Still 4901 is open.
Yes. Is it my turn?
Who is this?
This is Sherry in Houston.
Good morning, Sherry. I wasn't seeing your number.
Okay. Good morning, commissioners. You know, Greg has brought up legal, lawful situations, quoting RCWs, which from my understanding, your municipal corporation is supposed to follow, but yet we never follow them. Again and again, laws are brought up and they're not followed. And then the people get frustrated because we don't know who to tell. It's like, you guys take our money and then you say you rule over us and you can take our money. And if we don't pay you, you'll take our stuff. You might throw us in jail. Who knows? But then we have no voice and we have nobody to keep you accountable. Like, who keeps you guys accountable? And then when we call you out on the special favors of taxation for the renewable energy, and I'd like somebody to answer real quick, throw this in. Is our county gonna lift that levy for property taxes to the 3%? That'd be nice to tell the people. But you'll certainly come after our money and, let these corporations like Under Canvas and all these people, renewables, get special favors and
breaks and all that. So, you know, it's just frustrating for the people that we feel like there's no accountability to you guys, and we can't go anywhere. You know, like you say, daddy state rules you. That's how you get out of things. Well, if you're just middle management, why are we even paying you? You know, why don't we just go through the state? But then when we want to keep you guys accountable, we can't, because I don't know. Maybe you can tell us who do we go to in the state? Is it the attorney general? Do we say that you're not following your franchises right? And on that franchise, Greg has already proven you cannot approve a franchise on land you don't own. That is illegal. You're fooling the people when you say that you can just run lines on their property with no easement. Have they donated the property to you? Have you bought the property from them? No. So you can't approve that franchise. And so, like, where is the accountability for your body corporation, for the people? You know, we pay you. So that's what I'd like to know. Let's talk about that property tax levy lift. Let's talk about who keeps you accountable, how the people can, you know, we've talked about under canvas. It's a death trap. Should never have been put there. They can't get the water. They're going to pipe that sewer right. You're going to septic that sewer. It's going to drain right into the white salmon. Hundreds of people every day. You know, who keeps you accountable? You know, who are you guys and who keeps you accountable? Because I think some people would like to keep this county accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Back in the room? No one yet? No? Online, anyone? It's getting slow. No, it's getting close. Mr. Smith, are you ready? Okay, I think it's your turn, Mr. Smith. If you'd like to come. No?
How's the staff doing? Good morning there, everybody. It's been quite an interesting conversations I've had. Andrew Smith, Klickitat County. Yes, town meeting would be nice if you guys can do it. Hopefully you can do it on the west side. They've all been complaining to me about it too. Good luck on the jail. Hopefully everybody can register to vote. Will vote. Need everybody to vote. Since I've been out knocking on doors, we need people to vote. That'd be a good thing. And good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. It's going to start raining.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
I see your bike out there.
Yes.
So one more chance online. And I'm not seeing anyone else there today. So we will close public comment and move to commissioners. Mr. Christopher, do you have comments?
I would rather go second this time.
Okay.
I'm still working on my
Still working.
responses.
Let me trim through mine and give you a little space. Mr. Johnson, nice to meet you. Glad to hear about the meetings and I look forward to visiting. Like all communities, you have a long list, but it's time we get busy and I'm glad that you're helping and activating things and reaching out. That'll get it going. And Vern, thank you for the information on SEEK. You said one key sentence and that was what the county used to do. And you are correct, community councils were developed for a reason. And I look forward to having the bandwidth and the time to get out there in the evenings and start visiting with community councils. My first year and a half, I was able to attend a few and spread myself over the county. But in the last 6 months, I have to say, I've been overwhelmed and haven't been to community councils. I've reached out personally to council heads and kept up, and they do send me emails, which helps. Kaylee, it is a convoluted thing. And years ago, I worked for a particular state agency and we saw it then. Somehow there's a difference between state, county, and federal, and when they decide to burn, I'm going to leave some of that to Mr. King to answer for people, maybe in emails. I'm not quite sure how he'll answer those. I know they do inform us, and I know there was a time at this particular agency I worked for that we even had to reach out to EPA and say, I believe it was EPA, about the wind and about the air quality. And everything was a go except for the air quality. And if they said yes, then we could go. So we went And then there was wind and it became one of these prescribed burns that got away from us. So I think it's a long time coming to get more organization with the fires and recognition for the county and their burn bans. And we'll probably see what we can do about that. Gabby, thank you for bringing up the Park Center meeting, and it's on my calendar. I plan on being there. I do appreciate Department of Commerce, and I'm glad they're coming to White Salmon to listen to everybody in White Salmon and about all of your efforts that they can help you with. Lisa Evans, taxation belongs to the state. When you register for your business license, they set you up and they plug you into the appropriate place to collect which taxes they need. I understand the taxation for short-term rentals. I'm not quite sure if that's where under Canvas falls, but I'm quite sure the state's taking care of that. And yes, we'll have to look at that funding pot as we go forward. I've been thinking about it a lot. As we move through the STR regulation, that means more and more people will become responsible. They'll have their permits and businesses. They'll be paying more taxation. That goes to the state, and then our portion drops back to the lodging tax committee. But we're going to have to look at where's our best bang for the buck with that money. As this effort grows, our staff's going to even have to grow just to do inspections, just to get them the permit system going. You can imagine what 300 to 500 registered STRs would cost for office work for this county, and we have to weigh those things out. Mr. Nichols, always good to hear from you. And I think I answered your questions about the fire interactions. I had one more note, but I'm not sure. I kind of lost what that was. Mr. Wagner, thank you for your statement on the franchise agreement. I have been talking to the auditor and the road department, and we are going to have a further conversation about the franchise agreements. I think we have some T's to cross and I's to dot before we're doing them specifically correctly how they're supposed to be done under law. So we're all working together on that now. Mrs. Walker, thank you for keeping your daughter's plight on the forefront for the county. It is very, very complicated. I understand you've researched some things. Maybe the best way for me to understand the things you're looking at is if you can email them into the BOCC at klickitatcounty.org, and then the girls will distribute them to us. And I think you have a longer conversation that doesn't fit in our 3 minutes. And I would certainly look at whatever you have to send. And Adrian, the planes have been great. Ever since we've improved the airport and they've been able to encourage DNR to move to our airport, I've noticed the plane times have changed. And it made a big difference in the fires last year. They showed up at White Salmon quicker. It was really great to have them local. We need more expansion at our airport, and they even talked about the red chemical that they drop. They have to go pick that up somewhere else. We don't have a facility or a runway able to load those planes with that yet. And I hope in the future we can get that. That's going to cut down on fire time again, if we can get that improvement at our airport, or if they want it. It's a big deal to be able to load those planes with that chemical. Mr. Andrews, quick notice on a town hall for this month. Our schedules are so busy working, and you may find out, working a month or 2 months out is what we have to do. I had an employer tell me one time, if you're working this week, you're not going to make it. If you're working 2 weeks out, you're going to do a poor job. If you're working a month out, you might be okay. You might do a good job. Right now, looking at my calendar, the only evening I have possibly open would be the 24th. And that's still a quick turnaround depending on my seatmates and also staff coming with us and picking the appropriate place so we can capture meeting notes or have Zoom availability. So a little bit of things to organize. But yeah, town halls have not gone off the radar. It's just a very busy time with election, as you know. And Sherry, accountability is always good. We have a lot of accountability. I know there's frustrations about specific issues, but there are specific ways to ask for accountability, cause accountability to happen. And the system's set up pretty good. I think the worst thing is for me is how long everything takes. It grinds like a glacier. I can't tell you how frustrated I am sometimes how long it takes to get anything done. And as always, thank you, Mr. Smith. Always good to see you. Who's ready next? Would you like to go, Mr. Christopher?
I will, but I will go last next week.
Okay.
Just to keep it fair. Yeah, I have no problems doing town hall in Wishram, whatever day you want us to be there, I'm fine with. Kaylee, DNR burns or state burns, we don't have any local control over when states can and cannot burn or what they want to burn. If you want more in detail description of that, I would call Jeff Hunter. He is the local expert on all things DNR, or at least far more than I am.
Mr. King.
Or sorry, Mr. King. So, yeah, call emergency management if you want more on that. But yeah, no, they get to burn when they want to burn because they're the state and we're only the little bitty county. Lisa, will under canvas fall under lodging tax? I have no idea. I'm not an auditor, so that is not a question I would know. It would be a good question to find out though. And then can the tax dollars be used to mitigate? Again, it depends on what tax dollars, because if they do get lodging tax, there's obviously specific places those have to be spent. If you're talking about the tax dollars they would pay just in property tax or whatever else to mitigate for that road, then I would argue that if one project has to use its tax base to mitigate for its road, then other projects, the county should be using that tax base to mitigate for their roads and not other roads. And where I'm coming from is all the windmills out here, generating a lot of money to the road department that gets spent over on the west side. So if we want to play that game, we just have to play that game evenly and fairly, which I don't think the west side would like. Roger, system development charges for under canvas. I'm unaware of any system development charges. They're going to have their whatever cost to do permits, just like anybody building a house. But I'm unaware of any other charges or any other revenues the county's going to receive off of under canvas. Mr. Wagner, I do believe that the franchise agreement public hearing that was had on May 7th, at minimum, I won't argue the legality or illegality of the public hearing, but I would argue that it is so old at this point in time, I can't see how this board would be able to make a decision based on a public hearing it had 6 months ago. So if it was going to make a decision going forward, I would certainly hope that they would have a new hearing and advertise correctly and properly before they have the new hearing on the matter. Todd, I am unavailable this week on the 16th and 17th, but I am available next week on the 23rd and 24th. I'm busy, but I can always make time. Sherry asked a question on the 1 to 3% property tax increase. I am opposed. Have always been opposed and will stay opposed, but I'm outvoted. And that's the end of that. That's all I have.
Okay. Come ready. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Johnson, thank you and congratulations for working with SEEK and reconstituting the Wishram Community Council. The community councils hold a very special place in my heart. I served as a chair of one for a decade, and it's one of the things that I try to get to. So I would love to come to any of your meetings that you send me an invite to. And Vern, thank you for your work, supporting the community councils and all of the work with Seek. Seek is an amazing organization that gives the 501c3 status that helps small organizations grow. That are community oriented volunteer organizations. And to me, Seek is one of the most important little groups that most people never heard about. So thank you for continuing to do that. Kaylee, I went on a tour with the Forest Service, Mount Adams Resource Stewards, State DNR, and a lot of that tour with Representative Newhouse was about prescribed burns and why we do them when we do them. And there's a lot of science that goes into prescribed burns in terms of fuel loads and when you should and should not burn. We all think, oh, it'd be a good idea to burn after the rains come. Well, they don't spread and you don't get the burn in order to have the desired effect. And so when we updated our burn ban policies, part of what we did was carve that out so that the agencies who do this for a living, who have the necessary knowledge and background to decide when and when not to burn. Prescribed burns are one of those very scary things when you're adding fire to the landscape, in which we all know that fire is dynamic and weather conditions change and things can happen that you don't want to and intend to happen. And there's a lot of liability that goes in that's involved with prescribed burns. The county, we don't want to have anything to do with them because I don't want our liability to be associated with the prescribed burns. I want to leave it to the state DNR and the Forest Service. And if you want more information, I would reach out to Jay McLaughlin with the Mount Adams Resource Stewards. He is an absolute wealth of knowledge. They are one of the few organizations that are putting fire on the landscape on their own property as well on federal property that helps us bring fire to the landscape at the right time. Gabrielle, thank you for the invite on tomorrow evening. I sadly will not be able to make it, but I will make sure when we adjourn to, in case my seatmates will both be able to make it, that they can both be there at the same time. And thank you for the invite as well. I'm hoping that our Economic Development Department can attend as well. That's one of the most important things they can do. Lisa Evans, thank you for serving on the Lodging Tax Advisory Board. And so all organizations, whether it be motels, hotels, short-term rentals, all pay into the transient rental income tax. So yes, the answer is yes. The funds are to be used solely for the purpose of paying all or any part of the cost of tourism promotion, acquisition of tourism-related facilities, or the operation of tourism-related facilities. This is RCW 6728-180, if you want to look further into it. But in terms of paying for roads or anything else, that's not something that's allowable under the tourism tax. Roger, I always appreciate your comments and questions. When you say SDCs, those are primarily when you hook up to a water system or within a city for sewer. That's when you pay SDCs. What you're actually trying to get to is what's known as impact fees. Impact fees are under RCW 8202050. And the issue that we have in Klickitat County is that to impose an impact fee on development activity, those can only be used for the financing of public facilities. And in order to do so, you have to be a fully planning county. Partially planning counties cannot impose impact fees. Mr. Wagner, our Public Works Department has stated in public session that the notices, both in the physical location as well as in the paper, were posted as required. So the hearing was actually done legally. In 2021, in answer to your statement, I met with both Cypress Creek as well as Cease behind closed doors, and that's something that commissioners do all the time. No application had been presented, and I had a conversation with you just as I had a conversation with them. I've also been very cautious as my role as a county commissioner in anything that we may have to make a decision upon. I make it very clear that I never say if I'm in support of something or opposed to something, because that's when you create a bias. I have been very clear that I have never stated in public or in private that I support the Carringer project. The only project that I've actually said that I support in public is the pump storage project, because the pump storage project is part of our 10-year economic development strategy and is something that the county officially adopted to be in support of. And that process will not go through the county, that will go through the federal FERC permitting process. So there is no conflict of interest. As for your statement with regards to moratoriums, I've been very clear the entire time as a commissioner that I'm opposed to moratoriums because they do not have the desired effect in which people think they do. This has already been clear in the Carringer process when we passed a moratorium prior to their application, and the state determined that the moratorium was not a planning decision document, and thus it cannot be taken into consideration whether or not you're in compliance or the project is in compliance with the zoning and permitting projects. So I've been very clear on that, and I think passing a moratorium so that you can check a box off to say you're supporting someone is disingenuous if you know that it's not going to have the desired effect. Miss Walker, again, I am so sorry for your loss. Any information you send to the BOCC email, I will make sure to review. Mr. Bradford, the Big Plains, the movement of DNR, which the property now in Houston is going to be up for sale or transfer to the Dalles or Dallesport, I think is a good solid indication that these planes, both helicopters as well as fixed wing, the more of them we can get put on our property in our county only goes to enhancing the response time. Having a major DNR base there helps to keep those planes there. And I am always wholly in support of that. We have the windsurfing capital of the world here. We know the winds are here, and we want to get those planes on those fires as quickly as possible. There have been issues where the agreement between Washington and Oregon, because not all the planes are Washington based, some of them are Oregon based, and there's a memorandum of agreement between Washington and Oregon. And when we had the fire on the Bluff in Skamania County, those planes didn't get sent, because it was a day before the MOA was in agreement. It would have taken a governor's decision, the governor of Washington State, which it's hard to get him on the phone to send those planes. And that's been remedied, as I understand it, because that was a lesson learned. The other thing we learned this year is that a lot of the planes are already gone. They've already been sent south. And so our fire season isn't always over, but sometimes the resources get diverted. And that's something I hope that the future commission works on to keep the pressure on DNR as well as the governor's office, that we keep those resources locally as long as possible. Mr. Andrews, I agree with Madam Chair that setting up a town hall in the next couple of days is usually difficult to get people there. Usually we do that at least a month out, at least 2 weeks out, so that we can notice and advertise and get the word out. Otherwise, what are you doing? So I am in favor of that. I think I would say early November, except for I believe the commission, we're all at the WASAC conference. So I would say right after that would be a good time. And I would hope that my seatmates agree and have our staff set up a town hall. I would also mention that you made the statement that these projects are pushed through without environmental or anything being brought to the public. There is a public process for everything that we do. There is the SEPA program and SEPA process, and so no projects are done without going through the environmental review, through the public process. Many times people in the public find out about things at the 11th hour, no matter how good the amount of outreach that the county does or putting it in the paper. Sometimes, inevitably, people don't hear. If you've ever been through a sub-area plan update, you realize exactly what that feels like. You spend years working on a project and process, and then at the 11th hour and the 30th minute, everybody comes with their hands up. Oh my God, this is happening. And you're like, we've been having meetings for years. It's just how the system works, and you just got to be prepared if you're sitting in the seat that no matter how good of outreach you do, you'll still be accused of not doing enough. And Miss Bosque, Special favors and rates. Klickitat County does not give special favors, nor does Klickitat County give special rates to any individual, any corporation or company. The rates that you're talking about, whether it be for solar or wind turbines or any energy project, is a law that is passed by the Washington State Legislature that this board has multiple times come out and said we disagree with. When the state makes a law that takes away the tax, the sales tax for these large projects, it has a material impact on the smallest counties. For like, for example, the Lund Hill project, the sales tax that would have came to the county by itself would have been close to $3 million. And that was money that was taken away by the state legislature. That is something that I serve on a board that we're trying to fix both the property tax issue as well as the sales tax issue. I had a meeting with both our assessor and our treasurer about getting the rural counties, and particularly the southeast region counties, to push for the state this next legislative session, bringing all the counties together to push for the state to reenact our sales tax so that we actually can get the benefit of that sales tax. I have no problem if the state wants to give away the state's portion of the sales tax. I have a very large problem when the state legislature gives away the sales tax for the local portion. That is something that the county commissioners as well as the treasurer and assessors should all be a part of those conversations, and that did not happen when those laws were passed. And Mr. Smith, thank you for always being the last, and thank you for always saying something positive. And I have all the hope that the jail will be a success in the transition and everything will move forward and we can get the jail up and running as the Department of Corrections. So thank you for always being engaged and having the conversations and for always being here.
Thank you. Okay, Sharon, thank you for being patient. Sharon Carter from Senior Services.
So I had already spoken with the board about the Washington State Department of Agriculture's emergency food grant that needs to be expended by June. You had approved that. Well, I'm in process with them, should have the final agreement, but they asked just yesterday if we would be willing to also accept the funds that Skamania County was awarded and provide that, were you going to use WAGAP, Washington Gorge Action Programs, because they're really emergency food purveyor and they already have systems set up for providing food and getting from the appropriate folks. And they also serve Skamania County. So it would be a pretty seamless process to include that. I'd asked, well, why isn't Skamania County doing it? They said that the amount they're getting under $7,000 was not really enough for them to proceed with the process. And so it would not, Jennifer with WAGAP said it would be easy for them to, provide that support to Skamania County because they already do. And so I wanted to find out if that was okay to go ahead and include them, that amount in that agreement that would be carved out for Skamania County. So it would still be close to 17,000 for Klickitat County because it's based on, population, poverty levels and then the Skamania County amount is $6,800 and some odd dollars worth. So the overall agreement will be for about just under $24,000. And then we would have just an interlocal agreement with WAGAP. They'll actually carry out the distribution, the ordering of the food and the distribution, and they'd be able to do that very readily with the systems they have in place without additional costs. They think they can spend all that on food. So I wanted to find out if the board was okay with us also including Skamania County's portion in that agreement and moving forward.
Questions?
I don't have any questions, but she's asking for our opinion. Well, I don't see a problem with the end result. I understand my authority is inside this county and not in other counties, and I would be hesitant to approve things that are going to other counties without talking to the legislative body of the other county. They might have a reason that I'm unaware of. So without knowing or talking to the other county, I can't give my approval. I would need to talk to them first.
Jake?
And just for clarification, I know when I'd asked back as to why, and they indicated the reason they even asked for us to add into our agreement was that Commissioner Leckey with Skamania County had actually forwarded the agreement onto WAGAP, thinking they could, but this particular money with WSDA can't go directly to WAGAP. It's a government process that this has been allowed to only be awarded to county entities. And I think they wanted, that to go and just to not, have to, kind of deal with any additional paperwork and that too. But
you had mentioned that go straight to food, all of it to food. Is there an extra admin fee that drops off for WAGAP?
so WAGAP indicated they did not need the admin portion. I know that when I talked to the board, you request that we make sure to have, there is a 10% de minimis admin that will be maintained with that, but WAGAP said they did not need an admin, that they already have, the contracts, the systems in place and can put that to use just towards food and get food quantities purchased.
So the 10% de minimis will not be taken, or it will just be used for food, or are we keeping it?
We keep it.
So we keep the 10% to manage the grant.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm glad it's written in there. I have no problem, but it might be good just to reach out and get an email from Commissioner Lackey to say, inform the county commissioners that he started the process.
Just to check with them that they don't.
Yeah, or just.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if the legislative authority over there doesn't have an issue, I don't have an issue, but I'm not gonna usurp their authority and try to do business in their county without permission from them.
Yeah, and I mean, they turned it down, I guess, was the thing, because they didn't.
Right, I just need to hear that from them.
Just a little recap from him.
Okay, so I can reach out to them then
Yeah.
and just clarify. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Works for me.
And
Should
then
be
move
easy.
forward, because I know they would like to get an agreement in place,
I'm thankful we can
that
keep their
in
food
the next
program
week.
going.
Okay.
I'd hate for them to lose that food program. Yeah.
Well, and this is additional, money to purchase food, and in terms of seniors and advocating on that side is, we hear directly from seniors the challenges they have with affording food on their fixed income. So
I appreciate it. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Thanks. Consent agenda.
Madam Chair, we have before us the consent agenda with 5 items. My motion is to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Madam, what?
Madam Chair, I move that we pay the accounts payable warrants in the amount of $374,777.97, and the payroll benefit warrants in the amount of $821,060.26 for the date ending October 14th, 2024.
I will second the motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Department update. Planning Department, Scott Edelman. And we've put you under the gun 2 weeks in a row on time now.
Oh,
Somehow we've.
I'll try to be quick this morning since we're a little slow. I was going to be online for this presentation, so I emailed each of you the summary sheet, including the 2 of you.
I'm looking at it online.
The staffing, just wanted to mention Rachel and Evan, both are just dynamite. They're doing great. Rachel is helping out right from day one with current planning, stepped in and has already taken on a good amount of the workload to help out the team. Evan, same thing, day one, just started with ideas and moving forward. I think you're going to see a lot more now that we have the contract signed with the state and we got Evan on board with both the comprehensive plan and the solar ordinance. So next time that I'm before you, I think I'll bring him and give you a good update on those. Board of Adjustments, as you know, November 4th is a Wildland Fire Resource Center amended CUP. We talked about that last time. We also mentioned the Planning Commission had October 7th meeting on critical areas ordinance to consider agency comments and made a number of changes in response to those. So I was pleased to see things that I think will make agencies who did comment already satisfied. I'm sure they'll still comment in their 60-day period, which is starting likely today. It's either going to be starting today or tomorrow.
Congratulations.
We'll see when we get through it, but thank you.
It ain't over yet.
The band's
I
playing.
just wanted to give
confetti's
it a thumbs up before that gets worse.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And every step is.
No, we're going to think positive. No.
No, as we
no
check off some of
blockheads.
these things, it feels good and it's a little more burden off our shoulders. And, James Dean, that's the next one, November 18th. That's one that's been sitting there a long time and I'm really pleased. We've got the SEEP out. The appeal period for that is October 23rd. And then we've got the hearing set for November 18th before the Planning Commission. December 16th then is our target for actual hearing on the critical areas ordinance. I don't anticipate a recommendation at that point. I could be completely wrong, but I just think we probably will get comments of substance, both from state agencies and local participants that may require the Planning Commission to at least take a little bit of time to consider it, maybe not continue the hearing, maybe continue the hearing, or maybe just continue deliberations into January, but we'll see how it goes in December. A comprehensive plan and solar ordinance. As I said, Evan's hit the ground running. He's been doing a lot of work, especially on the battery energy solar storage systems, which the timing is very good because obviously it'll help out with our public hearing coming up on the moratorium for that. And so he's been doing a strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats style analysis, which is part of our grant funding. He's also been working a lot on a Gantt chart and working for the overall scheduling of specifically the solar project. And he's been pulling together a lot of examples from other jurisdictions. Comprehensive plan isn't moving as fast because he's been really focusing on solar. And I'm working on the comprehensive plan stuff, but we have pulled together examples from other jurisdictions. Evan's done a lot of research on that. And we're starting to review our current plan. And for both projects, we're getting our public outreach process ready. They're going to be parallel projects, but different processes. We're going to advertise for the project advisory committee for the solar ordinance. The thought being that is going to require a little more technical expertise, people who have more knowledge about that topic rather than general knowledge, although I'm sure we'll have some seats available for general public who are of interest. The comprehensive plan. So we're thinking about doing that through a project advisory committee who will then give a recommendation to the Planning Commission to consider before making the recommendation to you. The comprehensive plan, I feel, is more of a role of the Planning Commission directly. It's more their document. So our plan with that is to do several public outreach meetings around the county that are to gather input as staff to bring input in, and then to have workshops, public workshops where public can testify and give input before the Planning Commission. So a little bit different setup. One will actually use a project advisory committee as the mechanism for public outreach. The other will use public outreach workshops and the Planning Commission as the mechanism to get public testimony. Of course, those are both subject to change if you have input and would like to guide those differently. I'm glad to say Northwest Lakes cabins. I think I'll take these off because they're just moving forward through the normal processes. So it's just a matter mostly of making sure that the infrastructure associated with each cabin is appropriately identified and located with the cabin. So we're working closely with public health, environmental health to make sure that happens. Under canvas at this stage, our only role is to make sure that they meet the conditions. So we're working closely with their staff. I started with that sheet I gave you a couple weeks ago with the binding site plan where we highlight each of the conditions based on each stage of the project. And so we're just making sure that before we move forward with each stage that they met the required conditions. I think that's all that I was going to bring up at this point. If there's any questions or any other items for discussion you'd like to talk about, I'd be glad to.
Always progress. That's good. Yeah, and I've already heard good things from the public about your new people.
Wonderful.
Yeah, some
I'm not
comments.
surprised. I'm very glad.
That's nice. Yeah.
I have no questions.
Okay,
Thank you for the update.
I don't have anything. Thank you, sir.
Have a good day.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the potable water now under Commissioner's update, or you want to move to Public Works and do it next? What would you like?
Yeah.
We're behind a little.
I would bypass me and let staff, since they're sitting in the room.
Yep. Work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to switch to number 9, Public Works update.
We'll be quick.
You don't have a box of paperwork today, at least. No Vanna White.
Ran out of paper.
Yeah.
Take all the time you need. We can always make.
Okay.
So you can kind of.
Jeff, hurry up. Okay.
Your copy when I get to it.
I got it in this time. No games. Perfect.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I
well,
was reading.
it's fine. It's fine. We have one pay estimate to Stripe Right in the amount of 44,000. 44,352. This is the final pay estimate for this annual striping. And we have 2 change orders we talked about a little bit last week, and that's for Superior Court. Some of those are changes, some of those are extra things we have. Still have plenty of grant funding, so it's no extra money from the county. At that, we'll turn it over to.
All right, so on the construction end of things, our one project that's still currently going, Sundale Old Highway 8. Contractors trying to button that project up, installing some erosion control items, hydroseeding slopes, and other site finishing items. On-road design, Sunnyside Road overlay, final internal reviews completed, and we're getting the ad-ready set of plans together so we can get that out as soon as CRAB gives us the okay. Bridge repair bundles, consultants still working on 60% plans. The Bickleton overlay, same thing as Sunnyside, trying to get that last set together and getting it out to advertisement in coming weeks. White plastic edge lines, final review set of plans with WashDOT, and the final internal review is being completed. Curb warning signs, staff's continuing to move the project through design and approvals and final plans with future advertisement. Road safety plan, we had a meeting with the selected consultant, and they're working through assembling their scope of work, cost estimates, and getting an agreement together so we can get that project started. That's all I got, Jeff.
Okay, on the maintenance side, east side crews are working on Bickleton Highway in preparation of the paver next year. West side, we're doing some fall grade. We started the fall grading on some of the roads, and we're brushing. Upcoming the facilities side, we have some minor items left at the courtroom remodel. Harvest Festival is planned on the 18th through the 20th, and we have scaled back the amount of closure. We will not be closing off. We'll be closing off a couple stalls, and that's it at the courthouse parking lot. So we have availability for people that come in on Friday to pay bills and other things.
Okay.
Well, that was an oversight. I should have caught that. My mind was on something else. And because it would also closed off our ADA parking, which we cannot do.
Okay.
But yes, for the most part, the majority of that parking lot will be open.
Okay.
So we're not, it'll be closed come Saturday for the actual
Sure.
event, but Fuel Island, we're still in the final review of the plans. Everything else is pretty much the same except for the PAs. Tonight will be the last night. It will be complete then. They will put the office back together. It has been kind of a seamless transition because of the fact we moved the unit out from the ceiling. They were never without a system because we kept the old one in service while the new one will get transferred in tonight. So they will never, unlike most people, when we have to change out the unit, they are without ventilation and heating or cooling depending. And Dallasport Community Centers and the same thing, sign has been ordered, back porch is on for November, and I think that's all we have.
It's good. Easy week.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the final pay estimate for the 2024 annual striping program RN 642-24 in the amount of $44,352.06.
I will second the motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the change order number 1 for Superior Court solid surface insulation in the amount of $10,055.20.
I will second that motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve change order number 1 for the Klickitat County Superior Court floor covering insulation in the amount of $3,612.
I will second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Damn, we're still 1 minute behind.
Thank you. I know.
I tried.
You did great. Not bad.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. So,
Thanks, sir.
Mr. King. We almost got you back on track.
We'll make it work. Morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Thank you. You too. So I'll start out as usual with public safety radio system.
Actually, before you do that, can I ask that you clarify for any of those citizen commenters that might still be on in the last half an hour, how DNR can burn things during a burn ban?
Yes. So if it's not only the DNR,
right?
The county burn ban code, which is what we have control over, has in it the allowance for other fire authorities, both local, state, and federal. So our local fire chiefs and their fire commissioners and all the county fire districts can do prescribed burning or burn to learn activities and so on during a county burn ban, as well as state agencies that have fire authority, the DNR, or federal agencies, the Forest Service, or Fish and Wildlife, as in the refuge in Glenwood. And we've conducted dozens and dozens over the last several years of prescribed burns successfully, and 5 or 6 this year, before the recent one yesterday that got out of control. That fire there was a prescribed burn by the landowner, the Forest Service, and the National Scenic Area Fire crews in conjunction with others. But our burn ban code recognizes that the County Board of Commissioners are not fire experts, nor is myself. We don't try to dictate to those fire experts, the other fire authorities, what they should or shouldn't do under their mandates individually.
So if the county did remove the language that said that they're allowed to do what they're allowed to do, and just, nope, nobody can even, light a cigarette during those months, can they just do what they want to do anyway? I mean, they're a state agency. They don't necessarily have to follow local control, do they?
That's a legal question. I don't think we could still control what they do. Yes, the DNR has the ability in the state to permit certain burning for commercial purposes when they choose. And they have the authority to institute burn bans of their own.
And the wording we have, I'm assuming, in our burn ban is to help protect us if they start a fire somewhere and it gets out of hand like that, it keeps the county from being sued.
Well, it limits the
Helps.
county's exposure when we do get sued, because we'll be sued anyway.
Okay.
Correct. And I guess on that line, like you said, if we want to
that answers all my
address some of
questions
those
on the topics.
public comment side, Madam Chair, do you want me to continue to answer some of those questions before I go with my regular update to respect folks that are still online?
Probably it'd be a good time to go ahead and catch them so we don't.
Yes. There were questions about what emergency management does and what their involvement is in the prescribed burning process. I already talked about the burn ban code and what it has in it and allows, because the commissioners are basically the last fire authority, and the commissioners take action on a burn ban because the fire districts either can't or have abdicated that, and we institute those bans and rescind those bans with input from those fire chiefs from all of the county burn ban zones and fire districts. Emergency management's collaboration with the other agencies for prescribed burning is in the efforts to disseminate public information about the burn bans. I have two concerns in my department. One is to limit the number of 911 calls that come in when we see smoke in the spring or the fall, when people are getting anxious about wildfires on the what we call the shoulder seasons of fire season. Because in the past, when I first started here, the scenic area gorge fire, firefighters were doing prescribed burns, and they weren't communicating with any dispatch or emergency management on either side of the river. When at the Courtney Road area, and when that smoke popped up, we would get hundreds of calls from the travelers on I-84 to 911. And that creates its own problem, because then the real emergent calls can't get through, or we can't handle them in an efficient manner. So once we came to an agreement on how we message those activities, get that out to the public, reader boards on both highways, both sides of the river, public messaging on our Facebook page, our website, media releases that go locally, all those things, then that has improved greatly. And then just the basic public education about the benefits of prescribed burn. If we don't do prescribed burning or some methods of fire mitigation, then when we do have a fire start in the height of fire season, is going to move more rapidly and create larger wildfires that are more destructive and harder to handle. But we've put out all that information. If you want to see that, we have collaborated with the agencies, because there have been a few that have done prescribed burning this fall, not just the Forest Service, but we've passed along their messages and the public information that has come from the TREX group, which is a prescribed burn group that was created 2 years ago in the county. There's a lot of good information on the benefits and the reasons why they do prescribed burning and the reasons why they do it when they do it. I believe the other question that came up was about the air resources at Columbia Gorge Regional Airport in Dallasport. Those resources, as Commissioner Anderson stated, are contracted by other agencies. The DNR, Oregon Department of Forestry, are the two that I'm aware of, and that get activated. Those aircraft get activated through those contracts and through the mutual aid agreements or memorandum of understanding between the two states. Those resources can be used in either state for wildfires. And also, you're correct that the retardant planes have to come from the central area of the state or Spokane because of the facilities that they require. But they have been used this year on fires that we've already had here. So
There's no retardant bases in Oregon across the border somewhere? I mean,
Redmond is
close by.
closest.
Redmond's closest?
yeah,
Interesting.
Central Oregon. Yeah, sort of similar to what
Right, that makes
we
sense.
have in Washington. Anything else on that? Okay.
Thank you.
Then while I'm at it,
good update on that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, the top of the world fire, as it's been named, at last update, it was 240 acres. This morning, that just a little while ago, that update came through, and it is partially lined. The fire activity last night moderated and allowed them to get the line around it. And we have both Forest Service and local crews from different fire districts and departments in our county working on it still.